It started with a vision to empower data analysts in capital markets to redefine data intelligence with tools capable of unparalleled speed, agility, and precision. For over 3 decades, that vision has remained the heartbeat of Wall Street, powering the world's largest financial systems, where data never sleeps and speed is everything. But just like data, KX evolves. Today, we're shaping the future of business decision-making as the high-performance analytical database for the AI era. Whether structured, unstructured, real-time, or historical data, our tools deliver insights at speed and scale for a competitive edge. And in today's world, that competitive advantage relies on better, faster, more timely decisions. Powered by KDB+, KX is purpose-built for AI and real-time analysis, uncovering patterns in data faster than ever before. At any speed, at any scale, together, we're accelerating innovation, finding insights and strategies that no other technology can reach. The future of data analytics starts now.
Morning. Thank you for making time early morning on a day when it's snowing and rain. So, Ashok Reddy, I'm based in New York. First of all, I think from a KX perspective, we wanted to give you the view in terms of what, obviously this is for all of you customers as well as our partners. We are defining a new KX here, and I wanted to give you a little bit of history in terms of where we came from and how we are supporting your needs. Plus, KX is becoming a standalone company, and we have announced the sale of our first derivative consulting business. So we reached $100 million in ARR this past quarter, and we're moving towards becoming a truly standalone software company. Hopefully, that allows us to invest more and make sure that we are delivering the outcomes what you're looking for. So I think the focus of today's thing is really about AI, and it's become, everybody talks about AI, but really it comes to what is AI, and I think about it as the data is the algorithm, in the sense we all in the capital markets have been using algorithmic trading, and everything else we do is algorithms, but data is becoming the algorithm. So that's one of the things I want to kind of look at it, is because your differentiator is not as much of what AI, every algorithm is out there, is commoditized, different models. And AI is not just generative AI. All of you have been doing AI. So I think we want to just look at that. So just from where we have been, and our journey, KX started in 1993, same year as NVIDIA. And I want to thank NVIDIA and Dell for sponsoring this event as well as in New York. It focused on high-performance computing, but in our case, high-performance data analytics, where we started looking at exabytes of data, where we already 30 years ago, capital markets is where the intersection of volume, velocity of data happened. High volume, high velocity, how do you actually find patterns, how do you make decisions, and algorithmic trading happened. Then, of course, the introduction of big data, and we supported things along the way. And over the years, one of the things, the big feedback for us was, while KDB and Q were the best, but we also were limited in terms of the number of people who knew Q and KDB and how to democratize it. So we have invested heavily in terms of supporting the cloud, what we call the KDB Insights and Insights Enterprise capabilities. But recently, I think the PyKX is a big launch. We had 3.0, so you'll have a session later on today where we have brought all the power of KDB and Q via Python. And you not only have access to most of the capabilities and power of Q and KDB, but also how you can bring other machine learning libraries and everything else to bring to bear to improve what you're trying to do with the real-time decision making. And of course now, recently we have launched support for generative AI. Means we have been focused on structured data mostly in the last many years, time series, high frequency data, machine data, but now we have evolved to supporting unstructured data because you're all using alternate data sets. and that's becoming very important. And but it's not just generative AI, but we'll go through what that means. So one of the things what we talk about is we launched KDB.ai focused on unstructured data, but that can also process structured, but bringing the temporal aspects to it in terms of temporal similarity and proximity, and how do I take alternate data sets, combine that with structured data to improve your alpha, improve your how you manage risk, right? So those are some of the things what we have been focused on. So KX, as I said, is becoming a standalone company, and we are continuing to invest, and we are going to do more. And in that context, I would say, if you think about AI, the way I look at this is more like we have this different notions of software engineering. I started in Rational many years ago as a software engineer. We wrote software code rules based to write algorithms, right? That's algorithm 1.0. And you did that in capital markets also. You had rules, predefined, deterministic, and many people could do trades based on that. Same thing with the surveillance, and you kind of put the risk-based, what anomalies you want to look for. But then we started using machine learning, right? We started to look for labeled data and started coming out with how do I find patterns, and then use that to make trades or find your risk and things like that. So that's the second part of the evolution of algorithm 2.0. Then where we are now is really the next generation where everything is a function. You define rules-based functions to machine learning-based functions to now you're moving to deep learning or natural language way of learning functions, because you have to be adaptive. Things change. And data becomes your differentiator because it's not the algorithm. Everything from GPT, transformer-based algorithm, it's attention-based, it's open source, and a lot of the things are available to you. There is Llama and everything else, but is it good enough? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you create an edge for any company you're working for when everybody can use the same models and same algorithms? So that comes to how do you use your own data as algorithm, the data structures, and then you're able to adapt and learn, and you're learning general function approximation in a sense. You're learning functions, and they're becoming adaptive, and that means the data pipelines, the data quality, all those things become your differentiator. What type, do you have complete data? You have most reliable data. Does it have bias in it? Make sure that we actually are able to combine all of the data, not just as part of the data, complete data set. So to me, that's what we talk about AI-ready data, and I think that's where I also will, one of the things we're doing with customers later on, we get to, what we want to work with all of you is the AI Factory Lab, which is really, one of the things what we have found is the generative AI, while it can be used for certain things, there is a lot of issues around compliance issues, hallucination, but it also was not set up for structured time series data. If you have a long sequence of data, it cannot handle, and it cannot throw more resources at it. So now there are new models like Mamba, state models, which are coming up, which you are able to use, and some of you are already using it. So we are working with many of you to say, can we use state models so you can actually understand the state and long sequences of data, combine that with transformer models. So those are some of the things. It's not just about it's really about what Peter said, time to insights means what can I do to figure out what models to use in the first place? Like, we help you to not just try to be the fastest. It's about, can I decide what to use in the first place in my algorithms and want to compare different things and different models without spending a lot of money. And so that's why we're partnering with NVIDIA. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I just wanted to think about, what we do is really contextual adaptive AI. So it needs to be contextual, it needs to be adaptive, and you need to constantly learn, and data becomes your differentiator. Data is the algorithm. How do you get there? I think we talk about AI, because it's sort of like a framework, which I find we use this notion of AI factory, which kind of came out of, from Harvard. I had done a study, business school around this book, and Competing in the Age of AI talks about this with 300 different AI-first companies. How do they do this? How do they become AI-first, where you are using data as your differentiator and be able to deliver algorithms out of the AI factory? And it starts with using data, the complete data, structured, unstructured, using data pipelines to make sure they're accurate, they're predictive, and they're clean, and being able to come up in a way where you're using that to train your models. And you build your algorithms, and then you're able to do backtesting or contextual replay, and then you develop basically the things here, what we call experimentation, because many of you are quant researchers. I think we are privileged as a company, KX, to, when people talk about data science, there is a lot of people want to aspire to be data science, but then there are only the top 1% are quants. Everybody wants to be a quant. The best quants in the world use KX. So we are privileged to work with all of you and learn from you. And also what we are focused on, building that high performance AI factory so that you can get the best efficiency, but also the most accurate algorithms. And so then, of course, the software infrastructure is another key aspect of this, because you want to do this anywhere, any platform, any cloud, on-prem, or including a mobile device. So the AI factory, what comes out of it will embed these algorithms in every business process you have in the company. So that way you're taking decision-making, which is data-driven, and you're able to enable everyone in the company to make decisions at the point of wherever that happens versus having a top-down approach. So that's really the notion of AI factory. And so what we are doing is capital markets has specific challenges, right? We know that, especially for those of you, pretty much everybody who, if you talk about machine learning AI, in EU has AI law now. You cannot just use AI without being able to explain. You'll have to have interpretability. You cannot use emotion. You can't track, so you get fined, and this is going to happen in the US as well. So what we want to do is to help in that context, capital markets, different roles, right? We have people here, front office, people who are looking at portfolio managers, to trading desks, and people who are trying to drive P&L. You have certain things what you want to do. It needs to be accurate, it needs to be quick, and it needs to differentiate you. But then there are people who are in the technology space, centralized teams, and CTOs and others worry about standardization and being able to can it scale as more and more high frequency data comes in, and you have unstructured is as 80 times more than structured. And now you're not only looking at text and audio, think about video. There's sentiments coming in, and you may be looking at insider trading. You want to look at fraud. Everything in what's happening on Reddit can impact a stock. How do you understand that? How do you know what's fake, what's new, actually not fake? How do you actually have explainability? So, and then you have the middle office of risk compliance. It's something where you have to be able to explain. So when somebody wants to build the world's best algorithm, you also have to explain. You can't just say, I'm going to use this and predict it. It's a black box. ChatGPT, while it gives you don't know how it came up with an answer. So that's why having things like Mamba and state models, combining that, and then use it for the right reasons. So that's one of the things what we are helping is really the KX. We look at the AI factory as, especially from capital markets. What we have done is, we always have been helping you with structured data, and we are improving the data pipelines by partnering with leading market data providers like ICE for New York Stock Exchange. We have accelerators. We provide you high quality data and being able to get analytics. We are partnering with multiple companies like London Stock Exchange, LSEG, and other providers. So that's one thing, is being able to bring structured and as well as unstructured now, and being able to do that in a way where you don't have to look at it separately, right? You want to have a unified platform, and you can process both historical data as well as new streaming real-time data together. And that's why the pipelines are all parallel, right? It's not simultaneously. How do you do simultaneous versus in sequence? And that's what something like a GPUs do also, because you're breaking up work so you can process massively parallel. And we are a truly array-based functional programming language. So that means we can actually split the work into functions, and everything is already parallelized, and now combine that with an ability to work with GPUs and that architecture, everything gets accelerated. It's like, that's part of this is really taking unstructured structure, and then we come up with the applications or algorithms, whether it's trade ideation and being able to do trade execution, and then from a risk perspective, you also want to have how you provide explainable, you can audit things and you're able to explain them, right? That's part of it. You can't have speed without also the ability to have control. So how do you innovate but also have control? So this is an approach I think we are seeing increasingly customers are adopting. So some of the things what we provide, and you'll find more as we go through today, we are increasingly looking at everything as a modular way. I mean, you probably know, for those of you who know KX, KDB Plus is a flagship offering, and we came up with 4.1 this past year. We went from 1,000 connections to millions of connections, and we no barrier. We also introduced a lot of functional capabilities, but now with PyKX, combine that. So everything, you can run it on a single node or you can scale up. And we have partners like AWS has built FinSpace. You can build multi-node clusters within few minutes. You can scale out, not only scale out. And so then you have we're going to make it easier in terms of our roadmaps. What we want to do is, we have heard your feedback that it's about making it simpler and easier to get to value. So if everything is a module and we add additional capabilities, we have our developers, quants and others, we have integrated Visual Studio Code, the tools what you already use, and then be able to bring in other libraries and how do you make easy. And then we have dashboards, which is real time. None of the other things will do that, like Power BI and others. You'll be sitting with an hourglass for hours. And we have heard from many of you that our dashboards really provide you that visibility, replay, and it's like a time machine. You can go on, come back and without having to wait. And then we have data pipelines, including streaming, which is a big thing. And then I talked about data, feed handlers and connectors. So you can focus on the business aspects of your thing and not dealing with infrastructure and data pipelines and how to bring quality data, and the timestamps you get from different people will be different. So you don't trust them depending on when they were collected. So we want to work with our partners as well as our capabilities to solve those problems. So that's really what we are trying to do, is accelerating. Instead of accelerating computing, we're accelerating algorithms and insights, what you get from your infrastructure, the data. And of course, everything we do, we have a fundamental first principle that it's focused on solving the right problems, and also we want to make sure that same capabilities are available, whether it's AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle, or on-prem with OpenShift, and also including your iPhones, right? Everything we do, we want to leverage what you have and be able to move things around. So that's fundamentally our principle. I think with that, when you also then look at what we're doing with NVIDIA, which is one of the things we want to accelerate, is NVIDIA talks about accelerating compute. So basically, without changing your architecture of software, you can take your software and accelerate it, because you spend a lot of money and effort, the cost of compute versus how much you can get from it. Everybody has a data center, but then how do you accelerate a data center? What's you're spending today? And then, so what we have done is to the same AI factory, everything from a data pipelines to how you ingest data. We have a customer who is taking not only historical data and being able to run different models to backtest and contextual play to decide what models to use, but then as new real-time data comes in from order flow, you're able to update that. You can use the Mamba model, you can compare that with Llama, you can compare that with ChatGPT, Open GPT-4. How do you compare what's the best, and how do you then use that in real time to adapt and learn? So that in order to do that, you couldn't do that with the current, just the compute itself. So part of that is using GPU architecture, and we also have solving some problems here, which is you want to limit the data transfer, right? It's a lot of times we are bringing the data, it's all processed in one place in memory, and then you have to shift to transfer data. There's a lot of bottlenecks. Well, GPUs are accelerating things, but a lot of times the bottleneck is the data transfer between the CPU, the memory, and GPUs is a problem. There's a memory bus problem. So we are now working with NVIDIA to, for example, the next generation Grace Hopper or Grace Blackwell architecture has a CPU, GPU with shared memory. So that bottleneck problem also we can address, and we are starting to see that advantage of having more of a Grace Hopper and Grace Blackwell. So that's something which I think, what we are doing is also they've got things like Nemo, Guardrail, and other things where we help people to not only you are doing these things, but you also set guardrails for each company. So that way the outputs of that, you have guardrails and compliance perspective. And if you have EU specific rules you want to implement in the guardrails, you can do that. And the other thing is that we also offer what we call a blueprint. So this is, if you have a data set and a particular algorithms you want to try out, and we provide a set of blueprints with NVIDIA. And that is, I think, where the way we work is, the value is we bring high performance data layer, so that AI factory in terms of how data moves through the pipeline and how it's scalable, and we can even bring real-time processing. NVIDIA is providing GPU acceleration, as well as they have multiple models. Every model, whether it's a Llama 3 or any of these models now, they've optimized it for the GPUs, and we make them available. And you're able to use them, and then you have deployment choices of the same value proposition of running those models in any cloud or on-prem. You can do that. At Dell, for example, who is sponsoring, they're providing AI servers. You can run all these things on Dell, and it's basically you're able to then protect your own privacy of the data, the massive amounts of data you're bringing in, and then if you want to connect to real-time data streaming, you can do that. So that's the combination of between us, Dell, and NVIDIA trying to bring this value proposition. And then, of course, in terms of how you manage compliance and responsible AI is, to me, again, the balancing innovation, because many people are doing a lot of POCs with generative AI. But it's not that, you don't want to use generative AI because of hallucination, but you can take the advantage of what generative AI is. It's able to process massive amounts of unstructured data, sentiments, and other things. But it also lets you do simulations, because you're able to use that for coming up with synthetic data. Like if we do backtesting, you could only do a structured data. How about using structured data to come up with, combine that with generative AI to simulate different contexts? And that gives you better models, better risk. If you don't know what's going to happen in the market, if you want to stress test things, do you have enough liquidity? What do you have in the market? So that's combination. You can use things for testing and making better models versus just using generative AI directly to predict what's going to happen and trade the stocks, right? Or you can use a Mamba model to do that, or you can do the sentiment analysis and other things which you don't get today, and you are able to combine that with the structured and unstructured together. But again, we can have compliance and auditing, but also be able to go fast without feeling like you're being prevented by your compliance department in the company that you don't want to use generative AI. There are ways to use it, but also you are able to supplement that with general machine learning and other traditional things, discriminative AI you're already doing. So it's not like all of you aren't doing AI, but just now everybody thinks AI is ChatGPT. So that's the challenge in our companies, because especially as we get to the board level and C level, because there's a lot of focus on AI productivity. But if everybody gets the same level of productivity, how do you differentiate yourself? Right? That's just a big question. So I would say, I think in terms of what we believe is that, what's the high level differentiator, what you can have. And we find some of these things based on the customers we're working with, combining what you're already doing with real-time sentiment analysis and make sure that you're able to improve your alpha or trying to the quality and accuracy of your predictions. It is something what we are seeing, and that brings the high volume, high velocity, and variety of data. Adaptive trading signal, because you're generating trading signals today, but can it adapt to things, what's happening, and as you learn, because everything from what happens in US and government to whatever else is happening with it's not about like NVIDIA stock goes up and down just based on what happens to NVIDIA. A partner of them, Supermicro, something happened, and now that there is a correlation. But you also want to not just focus on correlation, because you need causation. So AI, a lot of times you correlate things, but you need to understand the cause and why it happened, what's the cause. So causation, so that's where predictive risk management compliance also comes in, because you're not only predicting, but you want to know what caused it. Is it a causation or correlation? So we have models like causation models we can build in. There's a company called Causal AI in UK here, where some of our customers are using, for example, and they bring that together with our technology. So, but to wrap up, I would say, we are looking to work with customers, not just us, with both NVIDIA and Dell, to work with customers who have specific problems, use cases, and algorithms you want to work with us. So we will offer what we call AI blueprints and explore the demos to see if those things will work for you. Some of the killer apps, some of the algorithms, like for example, some of the people who are doing backtesting, the cost of backtesting when you want to try out different models goes through the roof. And one of the most important thing is as of join. Like for example, we kind of join different things at a particular time to replay. It's huge cost, takes a lot of time. And now if you want to bring unstructured and structured together to do backtesting and as of join, how much infrastructure costs you need. And so what we want to do is to work with us. We'll give you access to both the GPUs as well as the Grace Hopper, Grace Blackwell, working with NVIDIA. And you can work with us within the 3 to 4 weeks to help you shape, and you can take it within your companies and say, okay, this is your killer app, right? That's what we would love to offer. And I think I'll be around the rest of the day here, but we'll have all my colleagues and our customers who are here. Thank you for presenting and sharing your thoughts. So I'll wrap up and I'll hand it over to Peter.